questions are probably something that everyone has asked at some point in their life, because theoretically you couldn't learn, actually and basically practically, you can't learn anything without asking a question. Even if you ask a question to yourself, you'll need to find out the answer to ever learn something. So questions seem pretty universal, but what I'm here to talk about today is why has a primate other than a human never asked a question? Now, you might need some context for this, because otherwise you might be like, oh, of course a primate has never asked a question because they don't talk, but that's kind of wrong, actually, because a lot of primates, gorillas, and monkeys have been taught sign language, which it's surprising that exists. To be fair, they are not the most interesting conversations. As an example, the longest basically sentence that was ever signed in sign language by a non-human primate was "give orange, me give eat orange, me eat orange, give me eat orange, give me you," and it was signed by a monkey named Nim Chimpsky, which is kind of interesting that almost every famous-ish, or at least the known monkeys and stuff like that, or primates, have really funny sounding names. But it is still confusing, because whenever there's a conversation like that, only have people asked the question. Only humans have asked other primates a question. Primates haven't asked a question about what humans think, act, or anything like that, which would be something that it makes sense that if they're pretty close to humans, they should be able to do that, and they should be curious, because it's shown that most animals are curious, so why wouldn't they be curious about that? So there's two main things to think about with this. The first one is called the Sally Ann test, where basically there's a child called Sally who has a basket, and Anne is another child who has a box. And Sally puts a marble in their basket, and then Sally goes on a walk. Anne takes the marble out and puts it in their box. And if Sally comes back and checks the basket, doesn't see it there, and is like, oh, it's just gone, that means they failed the test. That means they don't understand that other basically creatures or beings, they don't understand that other beings think, act, and feel in their own ways. But if they come back, check the basket, and then check the box because they think that Anne may have taken it out and put it in there, then that means they passed the test. So that could apply, but then it comes to the point where it's like, oh, that's a bit strange, because most primates do actually pass that test. So that's kind of ruled out. But before I tell you the second thing, there's one thing I want to talk about first, which is, it still is on the topic of questions, but please don't skip away from it, because I have some questions to ask you. So one of the main things I've noticed is I've been kind of at a loss on what to do with my YouTube channel recently, because I feel like it's been kind of in a point where it got a bit stuck, nothing's really happening that's interesting on my YouTube channel. So I just want to know, everyone in the comments, tell me what do you think I should do to make my YouTube channel better. And there's a thing I've been thinking about, basically a video series that I wanted to know if anyone would actually watch and enjoy if I started it, which is that basically I make either on this channel science or video game based things, or sometimes a mix of them. But one of the things I was thinking about a lot, is I have read the Harry Potter book series over 100 times, the entirety of the series over 100 times, and I listen to it repeatedly, listen to an audiobook version and read it repeatedly about the entire series once every 1.5 weeks. So I know a good amount of the books basically end to end. So I know what happens in a lot of them. And there's a Harry Potter video game that came out called Hogwarts Legacy, and I wanted to know if anyone would actually watch videos where I go around playing Hogwarts Legacy and seeing how accurate it is to the books, because like, I just saw someone playing the game, and there was this random NPC named, like, I don't know, something Pruitt, and I was like, oh, Pruitt, I know that character. They're a character that was mentioned, like, twice, very offhandedly, so that would be really funny to count up how many inaccuracies and how many accuracies it has in it. But that's just something, so go and discuss in the comments if I should do that. But back to the thing. The second possible idea is that basically there's a thing called the barrier of language, where, as an example, this is a bit of a strange example, but let's say you're watching this video with a friend, and I break into your house, and I shoot both of you in the leg with a gun, and it's in the exact same spot, and I tell you to rate your pain from 1 to 10, you guys, the two people could be feeling the exact same amount of pain, but they could be like, one could be like 6 and the other one could be like 8, because they don't know how to, or they could both say 6, but they're feeling different amounts of pain, because you can't perfectly convey anything to someone just through talking to them, which this is a much weaker reason for why there's apes haven't asked any question or primates haven't asked any questions, but it may have a possibility. But yeah, it's a bit strange, because a normal language, just talking to someone through any language, that's already hard enough to convey something to somebody. Like, you've probably been in a conversation, someone's completely misunderstood what you've said, but then it only gets harder when it's sign language, when, like, it's not perfect sign language communicating with other animals, so it's kind of still unknown. And that's basically the reasoning. But there's another idea, which is that possibly apes and primates and stuff like that just don't have the cognitive abilities to actually comprehend the idea of a question, which probably wouldn't make sense and is very unlikely, but it's still interesting because it is a mystery, kind of, still. People still don't fully know why they've never asked a question. But that's basically at the end of the video. I hope you like this, and if you skip through the other stuff I said, please go back and watch it. Please go back and watch the part you skipped through, because it would really be helpful if you asked those questions. Thank you, and goodbye.